While watching my older brother play basketball, I shot a quick text to my online boyfriend. Babe, I'm at a game right now. No way. Me too, beautiful. Good luck out there. A few minutes later, my brother's team was getting boxed out by the rival squad. The score was painfully tight. I jumped out of the bleachers, cupping my hands around my mouth. You're the absolute best. But the moment the words left my mouth, the rival team's captain dropped his basketball right onto the hardwood. Yes, we got it. Final minute on the clock, my brother sank a clean three-pointer, completely flipping the score and securing the championship title. I practically vibrated with excitement, jumping up and down in the stands and waving frantically at him. Reginald, you are incredible. What are you doing here? My brother grabbed the water bottle I held out to him, wiping the sweat from his forehead with the back of his jersey. I had just gone to the campus bookstore to print some syllabus. I heard the squeak of sneakers and the buzzer from the court. He had texted me about the finals earlier this week, I remembered. So I took a detour to watch. His teammates started trickling toward the sidelines to hydrate. When they saw me, their eyes went wide. Pierce, since when do you have a gorgeous girl hanging around? Back off. Reginald shot his teammate a lethal warning glare. The guys just laughed it off, though their eyes kept drifting toward me with blatant curiosity. I couldn't exactly blame them. I was a brand new freshman. Reginald was a grad student. He had gotten early admission to his master's program, locked himself in a lab for a major physics project and hadn't been home in half a year. He wasn't even there when I took my finals or applied for colleges. By the time I got accepted into his university, he had essentially moved me into my dorm on day one, patted my head and vanished back into his laboratory. This was the very first time I was officially standing in front of his friends. Hi, everyone. I'm Harper. I offered them a polite smile. I was just about to add that I was Reginald's little sister, but he cut me off entirely. Alright, show's over. Head back to your dorm. Text me if you need anything. He snatched my tote bag off the floor and handed it to me. He stood tall, deliberately blocking his teammates' line of sight, like he was shielding me from a pack of wolves. I blinked, totally lost, but nodded obediently. Whatever. The game was over anyway. I needed to get back to my room and text my boyfriend. I wondered how his game went. Oh, right, Reginald. That three-pointer was insane. I got it on video. I'll send it to you later. I bragged. A highlight reel like that deserves to be immortalized. Reginald's face softened into an exasperated smile and he waved me off. I turned on my heel to leave and immediately slammed face first into a solid wall of a chest. Back. Ow. My phone slipped from my grip and clattered onto the polished wood floor. I froze in a panic, dropping to my knees to grab it. Before I could even look up to see who I had hit, Reginald's entire demeanor shifted. He took a sharp, aggressive step forward. Brooks, what is your problem? She bumped into me. The voice was cold, flat, and completely devoid of emotion. It felt like a layer of frost settling over my skin. I couldn't help but shrink back a little as I finally looked at the guy. I recognized him, but I didn't actually know him. He was the rival captain Reginald had just gone head-to-head with, the same guy who nearly crushed my brother's team a few minutes ago. Why the hell were you standing right behind her blocking the way? Apologize to her. You're out of your mind, Pierce. Maybe the adrenaline from the court hadn't worn off yet. Reginald's voice dropped to a dangerous octave. The way he was looking at this guy was entirely different from his usual teasing arrogance. He pulled me behind his back, glaring holes into the other captain. But the other guy wasn't backing down either. Neither of them gave an inch. The air between them felt thick enough to spark a fire. The situation was escalating purely because of my clumsiness. I tugged anxiously at the hem of Reginald's jersey. Reginald, stop. It was my fault. I wasn't looking. I had just started college. The last thing I wanted was my brother getting into a fistfight on my account. Reginald set his jaw, turning his back to the guy to look down at me. Just go back to the dorm. It's fine. Don't start a fight. I won't. I gripped the straps of my tote bag tight. I nervously peeked over Reginald's shoulder at the rival captain. He was already looking at me. His gaze was dark, heavy, and razor-sharp. It was terrifying. It felt like he was trying to nail me to the floor with his eyes alone. I didn't dare stay a second longer. I mumbled a quick apology to the air and practically sprinted out of the gym. Nope, absolutely not. I had to tell my boyfriend about this immediately. That guy was a nightmare. The second I unlocked my dorm room door, I pulled up my messages with Ro. Babe, are you there? I just got so scared. While I waited for his reply, my roommates filtered in from their afternoon classes. Someone asked if I'd actually gone to watch the basketball finals. Yeah, how was it? Which of the twin stars won? I blinked. Twin stars? My roommate stared at me like I had just admitted I didn't know how to read. Professor Harris's golden boys. The physics department prodigies. Professor Harris was an absolute titan in the academic world. His standards for taking on ments were notoriously brutal. Because he was retiring in a few years, he had stopped accepting new students entirely. But this year, he made an unprecedented exception and took on 2 final graduates. He publicly stated they were the brightest rising stars the physics department had ever seen. Before they even officially joined his lab, they had represented the university in an international physics Olympiad and brought home gold. The university had their faces plastered on the website's homepage for an entire month. My roommate pulled up the university's unofficial Instagram gossip page, scrolling to the paparazzi-style photos the campus admins had posted of the 2 of them. I took one look. Wait, isn't that Reginald? He was that much of a big deal? A wave of intense, unbothered pride washed over me. My mood instantly skyrocketed. Oh, my brother won. Your brother? Yeah, this guy. He's my brother. I pointed proudly at Reginald's photo on the screen. The dorm went dead silent for a solid 5 seconds. Then they burst into laughter. Harper, stop messing around. How could Reginald Pierce be your brother? Exactly. You guys have totally different last names. You don't even look alike. I sighed. I knew this was coming. I had heard this exact script hundreds of times since I was a kid. But this time I came prepared. Look, here's our official family registry and here's a family portrait from last Christmas. I pulled out my phone and swiped to my favorites album. Holding it up with a smug grin, my roommate's jaws hit the floor. I kept going. I took my mom's maiden name, Sullivan. He took my dad's last name, Pierce. As for not looking alike, that was just genetics. If you looked really, really closely at our eyes, you could see the resemblance. A moment later, a collective shriek echoed through the dorm. Oh my God, Reginald is actually your brother. Yep. I would have met him on move-in day, but he was in such a rush to get back to the lab that he literally dropped my boxes in the lobby and sprinted away. My roommates couldn't hide their excitement. They practically begged me to introduce them the next time I saw him. They wanted to breathe the same air as a certified campus legend. I agreed easily. No big deal. Then someone asked another question. What about the other one? Your brother works in the same lab as him. Do you know him, too? Who? This guy? My roommate swiped to the next photo. She told me this was the other star. I looked down. Wasn't this the guy I literally just crashed into? Judging by the photo, it was taken during halftime. He was sitting on the bench, a white towel draped around his neck, black and white jersey, dark hair pushed back with a sweatband. He was leaning forward, elbows resting on his knees. Staring down at his phone like he was texting someone. Whoever took this photo deserved a Pulitzer. How did they manage to make a guy with a death glare look like the brooding male lead of a coming-of-age movie? It was the most liked photo on the entire campus page. Mostly because the guy was looking down at his screen with a faint, barely there smile. What was he smiling at? I had only seen him look like he wanted to commit a felony. I don't know him, I said, shaking my head. My roommates looked a little disappointed and were about to pivot to a new piece of gossip when my phone buzzed on my desk. My boyfriend finally texted back. Hold on, I have to reply to this. I tuned out my roommate's chatter and unlocked my screen. Ro, beautiful. I just got out of the shower. What? What happened? I originally wanted to vent about the terrifying guy at the basketball court. But after the whole conversation with my roommates, the incident didn't feel like a big deal anymore. Nothing, babe. Just missed you. How was your game? The typing bubble popped up. He went quiet for a full minute before sending a single word. Lost. Oh, no. He must be crushed. My heart squeezed. My fingers flew across the keyboard trying to comfort him. It's okay. It's okay. We'll get them next time. It was just a bad matchup. In my heart, you're always the MVP. Anyway, I fired off 4 or 5 texts in a row. Sensing my panic, he sent back a cute sticker of a cat patting another cat's head. It's probably because I didn't have you in the bleachers. The other team had a lot of girls screaming for them today. Oh, so that was it. I spammed him. With a dozen heart-eyed stickers. He went quiet again, but I could see the typing indicator flashing on. and off at the top of the screen. He was hesitating. Babe, do you want to say something? Can you send me a picture of yourself? Huh? Ro? I just really want to know what you look like right now. Without overthinking it, I scrolled through my camera roll and picked a candid I took right before the basketball game today. Here's my OTD for today. Honestly, my heart was hammering against my ribs. I stared at the screen waiting in pure agony for his reply, but he didn't say anything. What was happening? Did he think I was ugly? No way. My mom used to put me in child modeling catalogs. In high school, a talent scout literally tried to stop me at the mall. Plus, my selfie lighting was immaculate. There was no way I looked bad enough to render him speechless. Why? Why aren't you saying anything? Am I ugly? I frowned at my phone. Please don't let this be a disaster. We were supposed to meet up in person soon. I hadn't even touched those abs yet. I was instantly regretting sending the photo. Then his text came through. No, you're beautiful. Really, swear to God. I swear. Thank God. I let out a massive sigh of relief, but the typing indicator popped up again. He clearly wanted to say something else. I waited and waited. Nothing came through. I didn't have time to overthink it because my roommates had finally caught on to my giggling. They swarmed my desk. Harper Sullivan, fess up right now. Who are you texting? Is that a boyfriend? After classes the next day, Reginald texted me to meet him at the graduate dining hall for dinner. I shoveled rice into my mouth. Looking at how casually Reginald was eating, I carefully plotted my next move. Hey, Reginald, can you transfer me some cash? Didn't I just send you your allowance last week? I had to buy textbooks and dorm stuff. It vanished. I gave him my absolute best puppy dog eyes. Reginald sighed heavily and pulled out his phone. Sent. I eagerly opened my banking app. Why is it so low? He usually sent me $1,000. This time it was barely $100. You blow through money too fast. You need to learn how to budget. I glared at him. Do you want it or not? If not, send it back. I want it? I want it. Even pocket change was better than nothing. I smiled sweetly and accepted the transfer. Reginald finished his meal and stood up. I have to get back to the lab to check on a simulation. Finish your food before you leave. Got it. Once Reginald walked away, I lost all motivation to finish the liver. I poked at my rice with my fork. That was when I noticed a guy sitting a few tables behind where Reginald had been sitting. Wait, wasn't that the terrifying guy from the gym? He ate here too. Since when? I hadn't even noticed him sitting there. Curiosity got the better of me and I stared at Henry Brooks for a few seconds too long. Maybe he felt me looking because those icy, razor-sharp eyes snapped over to mine. He didn't say a word. He just picked up his tray and walked right past my table toward the exit. What the hell? I apologized to him yesterday, didn't I? Why was he still looking at me like I owed him blood money? I shook it off, headed back to my dorm, and texted Ro again. Babe, did you eat yet? Yeah, just finished. Another text popped up. Do you need money right now? Huh? What did he mean? Before I could even process the question, a transfer notification hit my screen. Incoming transfer, $5,000. I sucked in a sharp breath. Why did you just send me this? For you to spend. I have money. My parents and Reginald already gave me an allowance. My savings account was completely fine. I was just typing out that I didn't need it. But his next text stopped me in my tracks. Keep it. It's a gift. You don't need to send it back. Spending money on my girl is exactly what I'm supposed to do. My face flushed hot. I couldn't stop grinning. I slapped my own cheeks to calm down. Fine, I'll keep it. The next few weeks fell into a totally normal college routine. I had just finished dinner and was lounging in the dorm. When my roommate suddenly sat bolt upright in her bed. Holy crap. Guys, you have to read what just got posted on the campus confessions page. She dropped a link into our group chat. Anonymous confession. What do I do if I found out the girl I like has another boyfriend? Harper's roommates immediately descended on the post like starving vultures. Wait, keep scrolling. What if it's someone we know? The anonymous confession was already exploding with comments. Bro, if she has another boyfriend, she's not the girl you like. Move on. Tell the boyfriend. Are you sure they're actually dating? This sounds suspiciously specific. I laughed and tossed my phone onto my pillow. People on this campus have way too much free time. My roommate pointed dramatically at me. Easy for you to say. You have a boyfriend. I grinned. Exactly. A few seconds later, my phone buzzed. Ro. I immediately ignored my roommates and opened the chat. Ro, what are you doing? Me, reading campus gossip. Ro, sounds dangerous. Me, someone posted that they found out the girl they like has another boyfriend. There was a long pause. Then. Ro, what do you think they should do? I frowned. That was an oddly specific question. Me, give up? Ro, just like that? Me, if she already has a boyfriend, yeah. Another pause. Ro, what if she doesn't know how he feels? Me, then that's his problem. My roommates were arguing loudly about whether the anonymous poster should confess anyway, but I was suddenly paying more attention to my screen. Ro was typing. Stopping. Typing again. Then finally. Ro, you're really happy with your boyfriend? I stared. Where was all of this coming from? Me, of course I am. Ro, even though you've never met him? Me, we talk every day. Ro, that's not what I asked. My stomach tightened. This conversation felt strange. Me, why are you asking? The typing bubble appeared instantly this time. Ro, because I want to meet you. My heart skipped. We had talked about meeting before, but he always changed the subject whenever I brought it up. Me, really? Ro, really? Me, when? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally. Ro, soon. I rolled my eyes. Me, that's not a real answer. Ro, be patient. Before I could complain further, another message arrived. Ro, by the way, are you free Friday night? Me, probably. Why? Ro, don't make plans. I sat upright. Me, are you finally asking me on a date? For nearly a full minute there was no response. Then. Ro, maybe. I buried my face in my pillow and screamed. My roommates immediately looked over. What happened? I couldn't stop smiling. Nothing. That's boyfriend behavior. Shut up. Meanwhile, across campus, inside Professor Harris's laboratory, a phone screen illuminated the face of a very familiar man. Henry Brooks stared at Harper's latest message. Are you finally asking me on a date? For the first time all evening, a faint smile appeared on his face. Across the room, Reginald looked up from his computer. What are you smiling about? Henry locked his phone and expression instantly returned to ice. Nothing. Reginald narrowed his eyes. You look suspicious. Focus on your simulation. Reginald snorted. Whatever. Neither of them noticed the phone vibrating again. Harper, if you're planning something cute, I'm already excited. Henry stared at the message for several seconds. Then he slowly typed back. Ro, good. Ro, because after Friday, things are going to change. And for the first time since arriving at university, Harper unknowingly stepped onto a collision course between her online boyfriend, her overprotective brother, and the last person she ever expected to be connected to either of them. Harper blinked at the screen. Because after Friday, things are going to change. A dramatic chill ran down her spine. Me, why does that sound like something a movie villain would say? Ro, maybe I am a villain. Me, impossible. Villains don't send me cat stickers. Ro, that's classified information. I laughed and kicked my feet against the mattress. The conversation drifted to random topics after that, but Ro seemed unusually distracted. Every few messages he'd disappear for several minutes before returning with a short answer. Eventually I fell asleep with my phone in my hand. Friday arrived far too slowly. By noon I had already changed outfits 3 times. My roommates were having the time of their lives. You're nervous. I'm not nervous. You brushed your hair 4 times. That's called hygiene. Harper, you own exactly 1 dress. Why is it on your bed? I immediately threw a pillow at her. The truth was that I was nervous. Tonight might finally be the night I met Ro. We'd been talking for almost a year. We knew each other's favorite foods, favorite movies, biggest fears, embarrassing childhood stories. Okay, maybe not everything. Neither of us had ever video called. Whenever I asked, something always came up. A broken camera. Bad internet. A competition. A family emergency. Looking back, it was actually kind of weird. But every time I started questioning it, he'd do something ridiculously sweet and I'd forget all about it. Around 4 in the afternoon, my phone buzzed. Reginald. Reginald, dinner tonight. Me, busy. Reginald, not a request. Me, sorry. I have plans. 3 dots appeared. Then. Reginald, with who? Oh. Me, friends. Reginald, which friends? Me, why are you interrogating me? Reginald, because you're terrible at lying. Rude. I decided not to answer. A minute later my phone rang. I immediately rejected the call. Then another message arrived. Reginald, Harper. Me, Reginald. Reginald, don't make me come over there. Me, you're at work. Reginald, don't test me. I stuck my tongue out at the screen. Unfortunately, my brother knew me too well. At 7 o'clock sharp, another text arrived. This one was from Ro. Ro, come to the old physics building. I frowned. Me, why? Ro, trust me. That wasn't suspicious at all. Still, excitement won. I grabbed my jacket and hurried out of the dorm. The physics building sat on the quieter side of campus. Most students avoided it at night. By the time I arrived, the sun had completely disappeared. The courtyard was almost empty. A few lights glowed through the laboratory windows above. My heart pounded. I checked my phone. Me, I'm here. No response. A minute passed. Then 2. Then 5. I was starting to think I'd been pranked when footsteps echoed across the courtyard. Someone was approaching. Tall. Broad shoulders. Dark clothing. As he stepped beneath one of the courtyard lights, my stomach dropped. No. No way. Absolutely not. Henry Brooks. The terrifying basketball captain. The human iceberg. The guy who looked at people like they owed him money. He stopped a few feet away. Those familiar dark eyes locked onto mine. Every survival instinct in my body activated. I immediately spun around. Nope. Harper. I froze. Because I'd never told him my name. Slowly, very slowly, I turned back around. Henry's expression hadn't changed. If anything, he looked even more serious. My pulse started racing. How do you know my name? He was silent for several seconds. Then he reached into his pocket. Pulled out his phone. And held up the screen. My own chat window stared back at me. The contact name at the top read. Beautiful red heart. My brain stopped functioning. Completely. Thoroughly. Catastrophically. Henry Brooks lowered the phone. I think, he said calmly, we need to talk. My jaw fell open. Because the terrifying rival captain. The physics prodigy. The guy my brother seemed to hate. The man who looked physically incapable of smiling. Was Ro. My online boyfriend. And suddenly 100 confusing moments over the past year slammed together in my head like a train wreck. My brain refused to process what I was seeing. I looked at Henry. Then at the phone. Then back at Henry. Then back at the phone. No. Henry said nothing. Absolutely not. Still nothing. I pointed accusingly at him. You're not Ro. I am. No, you're not. I am. You send cat stickers. Yes. You use heart emojis. A pause. Occasionally. You called me beautiful. Another pause. Henry looked away for the first time since I'd met him. You are. My brain somehow managed to short-circuit even harder. No. Harper. No. I took several steps backward. This is insane. I know. You let me think you were a normal person. His eyebrow twitched. A normal person? Yes. I waved both arms dramatically. Not this. What exactly is this? I opened my mouth. Then closed it. Because I honestly didn't know how to explain it. The Henry Brooks standing in front of me and the Ro I texted every night felt like completely different people. One sent me good morning messages. The other looked like he could freeze a volcano through sheer force of personality. This can't be real. It is. My phone buzzed. I looked down. A new message. Ro, look at me. I slowly raised my eyes. Henry was holding up his own phone. My jaw dropped. Then another message appeared. Ro, still think I'm lying? My face turned bright red. Oh my God. For the first time ever, I actually saw it. Not the scary expression. Not the cold eyes. Not the basketball captain. Just Ro. The person who stayed awake until 3 in the morning talking to me about movies. The person who remembered every random thing I liked. The person who checked whether I'd eaten lunch. The person who somehow always knew when I was upset before I said anything. The silence stretched. Finally I managed. You should have told me. Henry's jaw tightened. I wanted to. Then why didn't you? His gaze shifted away. For several moments he didn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter. Because of your brother. I blinked. What? Henry exhaled slowly. Harper. The way he said my name made me nervous. Your brother and I have known each other for years. Yeah? We hate each other. Oh. Profoundly. Oh. That actually explained a lot. The near fistfight in the gym suddenly made much more sense. You and Reginald really don't get along? Henry gave me a look. A very specific look. The kind of look that suggested the answer should be obvious. I immediately remembered the gym incident. Right. Right. We stood there awkwardly. Then I remembered something. A very important something. My eyes narrowed. Wait. Henry visibly tensed. You knew who I was. You knew the entire time. Henry. He rubbed a hand across his face. I found out 6 months ago. 6 months? His silence was basically a confession. I was horrified. 6 months. I was going to tell you. When? Another pause. Eventually. I pointed at him again. That's not a date. It was a work in progress. A work in progress? To my complete shock, Henry looked almost embarrassed. Actually embarrassed. The realization hit me like a truck. The mighty Henry Brooks. Campus legend. Basketball captain. Physics prodigy. Had been procrastinating a difficult conversation for 6 months. I burst out laughing. Henry stared at me. What? Nothing. What? It's just. I started laughing harder. You got scared. I did not. You absolutely did. I didn't. You were terrified. Henry looked personally offended. I was being cautious. I nearly doubled over. That's just a smarter word for scared. For the first time since meeting him, I saw the tiniest hint of a smile. It appeared for less than a second. But it was there. And suddenly the expression from all those photos online made perfect sense. Before either of us could say anything else, a familiar voice exploded across the courtyard. Harper. Every muscle in Henry's body went rigid. I slowly turned around. And immediately regretted it. Reginald Pierce was standing at the entrance of the courtyard. Holding a takeout bag. Looking absolutely murderous. His eyes moved from me. To Henry. To the small distance between us. Then back to Henry. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Oh, Reginald said. Very calmly. Far too calmly. I understand now. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Even the wind seemed to stop. Then Reginald pointed directly at Henry. You. Henry folded his arms. Me. Out of every person on this campus. Yes. You chose my sister. Yes. My eyes widened. Henry, why would you answer like that? Reginald looked 1 second away from committing a felony. Meanwhile Henry seemed completely unbothered. Which somehow made everything worse. And standing between them, Harper realized with growing horror that introducing her boyfriend to her brother might actually be harder than surviving freshman year. Reginald stared at Henry. Henry stared back. The tension was so thick Harper felt like she could cut it with a knife. Then. How long? Reginald asked. About a year. Harper nearly choked. A year? Reginald slowly turned toward her. A year? Maybe? A year? I'm hearing a lot of judgment from someone who never answers my texts. Reginald looked ready to scream. Instead, he pointed at Henry. You hid this. Henry nodded. Correct. You lied. Technically omitted. That's still lying. Fair. Harper buried her face in her hands. This was a disaster. An absolute disaster. Then Reginald suddenly narrowed his eyes. Wait. Henry visibly stiffened. You're the one who sent her $5,000. Silence. Harper froze. How do you know that? I monitor your account. You what? For emergencies. That's not an emergency. Reginald ignored her. His gaze remained locked on Henry. You sent my freshman sister $5,000. Henry looked completely unapologetic. Yes. Why? She wanted money. I asked you for money. You got some. $100. Henry glanced at her. You seemed disappointed. Harper immediately pointed at him. See? He gets me. Stop helping your case. Reginald snapped. For a moment nobody spoke. Then Reginald took a long breath. Another. Then another. Finally he looked at Harper. Are you happy? The question caught her off guard. She blinked. Then nodded. Yeah. Reginald looked at Henry. Did you ever hurt her? No. Make her cry? No. Lie about who you are. Henry. A little. Reginald groaned. Harper smacked Henry's arm. Ow. Don't ow me. Surprisingly, Reginald laughed. Just once. A short, exhausted laugh. Then he rubbed his forehead. I hate both of you. Love you too, Harper said. I wasn't talking to you. I know. Henry looked at Reginald. So? So what? Are you going to try to kill me? Reginald considered it. Tempting. Harper immediately stepped between them. No felonies. No promises. No felonies. Reginald sighed. Then, to everyone's surprise, he held out the takeout bag. I bought dinner. Harper lit up. For me? For you. She grabbed it instantly. A second later, Reginald pulled out a second container and shoved it toward Henry. Henry blinked. So you don't want me dead? I didn't say that. The two men exchanged a look. Not friendly. Not hostile. Something in between. Progress. Tiny, microscopic progress. As Harper happily opened her food, her phone buzzed. A new message from Henry. Standing 3 feet away. She looked at him. Then at the message. Row red heart, hi, beautiful. Harper immediately started laughing. Seriously? Henry's phone buzzed. Harper red heart, hi, boyfriend. For the first time all night, Henry smiled without trying to hide it. And unfortunately for him, Reginald saw. Absolutely disgusting. You're just jealous, Harper said. I'm leaving. Love you. I regret raising you. You didn't raise me. Close enough. And as Reginald walked away muttering about terrible life choices, Harper realized that somehow, against all odds, everything had worked out. Mostly. Probably. Hopefully. A week later, Harper learned 2 very important things. First, dating Henry Brooks was surprisingly easy. Second, keeping Henry Brooks hidden from campus gossip was impossible. The problem started when someone spotted them leaving a cafe together. Then someone else spotted Henry carrying Harper's backpack. Then someone got a blurry photo of Henry waiting outside her lecture hall. Within 48 hours, the campus confession page exploded. Is Henry Brooks dating someone? Who is the girl? I saw him smiling. That's the fakest confession I've ever read. No, seriously, he smiled. Harper was laughing so hard she nearly fell off her bed. Meanwhile, Henry stared at the posts with visible irritation. They need hobbies. They have hobbies. Such as? Stalking you. Henry looked genuinely offended. Then another post appeared. Rumor says Henry Brooks is dating a freshman. The room went silent. Harper and Henry looked at each other. Then at the screen. Then at each other again. Well, Harper said, that didn't take long. An hour later, the rumor became fact. Because Reginald accidentally made it worse. Someone in the dining hall asked whether Henry was really dating a freshman. Reginald replied. Unfortunately. That single word spread across campus in under 10 minutes. By evening everyone knew. The next morning Harper walked into class. Every head turned. Oh no. Her classmates immediately swarmed. Is it true? Are you dating Henry Brooks? How did you meet? Is he actually scary? Does he smile? Harper opened her mouth. Closed it. Then sighed. Yes. The classroom erupted. Across campus, Henry received 32 messages from teammates demanding answers. He ignored all of them. Until one message arrived from Reginald. Reginald, she's becoming campus news. Henry, not my fault. Reginald, it literally is. Henry, fair. 3 dots appeared. Then. Reginald, if you make her cry, I'll bury your body where nobody finds it. Henry, noted. Reginald, I'm serious. Henry, I know. And for the first time in years, neither of them argued. Because despite everything, they both cared about the same person. Even if neither of them would ever admit it out loud. Unfortunately, peace lasted exactly 3 days. On the 4th day, Harper opened her dorm room door and found a crowd. A literal crowd. Why are there people outside my room? Her roommates looked guilty. Very guilty. Funny story. That expression means it isn't funny. One roommate slowly held up her phone. Harper looked. And immediately understood. A new post had appeared on the campus gossip page. Campus couple tournament. Vote for the cutest couple at the university. Current number 1 seed, Henry Brooks and Harper Sullivan. Harper stared. Then stared some more. Then screamed. Oh, come on. Across campus, Henry received the same post. His teammates were dying of laughter. Number 1 seed. Bro, you're famous. I was already famous. Not for romance. Henry looked like he wanted to throw his phone into a river. Then another notification appeared. Harper had sent him a screenshot. Harper, explain. Henry, I can't. Harper, you absolutely can. Henry, I have no idea who started this. Harper, people are voting. Henry, I noticed. Harper, we're winning. Henry closed his eyes. By Friday, the situation had somehow gotten worse. Much worse. Harper and Henry had advanced through 4 rounds of voting. They beat. Asterisk the student council president and her girlfriend. Asterisk 2 seniors who had been dating for 4 years. Asterisk a pair of theater majors who literally met while performing Romeo and Juliet. The comments were chaos. Harper somehow unlocked Henry's secret smile. She's stronger than the military. Reginald Pierce looks like he wants to commit crimes. We should interview the brother. Nobody interviewed the brother. Mostly because they valued their lives. Then came the finals. Harper was sitting in the library when her phone exploded. Messages. Notifications. Mentions. Group chats. Everything at once. She opened the voting page. And nearly choked. Their opponents were the university president and his wife. What? Apparently the organizers had decided it would be funny. Harper immediately texted Henry. Harper, why are we competing against married people? Henry, we can still win. Harper, that's not the point. Henry, it would be funny. Harper, Henry. 5 minutes later another message arrived. Henry, we're winning. Harper looked. They were. By 10%. She buried her face in the desk. This school is insane. A voice suddenly spoke behind her. I agree. Harper jumped. Henry was standing there. He had apparently left the lab just to tell her that in person. What are you doing here? You looked stressed. Because we're apparently more popular than the university president. Understandable. It is not understandable. Henry sat down across from her. For a few moments they simply looked at each other. Then Harper started laughing. Henry raised an eyebrow. What? This is ridiculous. It is. We became campus celebrities because you carried my backpack. You asked me to. I know. The corners of Henry's mouth twitched. Then, unexpectedly, he reached across the table and squeezed her hand. A simple gesture. Nothing dramatic. But it immediately made Harper's face heat up. Unfortunately. At that exact moment. Someone took a picture. The flash went off. Both of them turned. A horrified student stood frozen near the bookshelves. Phone still raised. The student squeaked. Then ran. Harper slowly looked at Henry. Henry slowly looked at Harper. They both knew. By tomorrow morning that photo would be everywhere. And somewhere on campus, Reginald Pierce was about to have the worst day of his life. The photo was everywhere by sunrise. Every group chat on campus somehow had a copy. The picture wasn't even scandalous. It was literally just Henry holding Harper's hand across a library table. The problem was that Henry Brooks looked happy. That was apparently newsworthy. The comments were losing their minds. He smiles? That's not Henry. That's his twin. Harper unlocked a secret achievement. Reginald Pierce found dead in a ditch. R.I.P. Reginald. Harper was laughing so hard she could barely breathe. Then her phone rang. Reginald. Her laughter immediately stopped. Oh no. She answered. Hi, Reginald. Where are you? Good morning to you too. Harper. Oh. She decided honesty was the best policy. In class. A pause. Good. Why? Because if you were with Henry right now, I'd have words. You always have words. I have extra words today. Later that afternoon, Harper met Henry outside the physics building. The moment she arrived, she noticed something strange. Everyone was staring. Not at her. At Henry. Specifically at the bouquet of flowers in his hands. Harper blinked. Why do you have flowers? Henry looked down. Then back up. You said you liked sunflowers. Her brain froze. You remembered that? You mentioned it 8 months ago. Harper stared at him. 8 months. 8 months. He remembered a random comment from 8 months ago. This man was either incredibly romantic or mildly terrifying. Possibly both. She accepted the flowers. Immediately. Because they were beautiful. And because saying no would have been insane. Around them, several students visibly lost their minds. Someone actually dropped their coffee. That evening another confession appeared online. To the physics student carrying flowers. We all know who those were for. Stop raising the standards for everyone else. The post got thousands of likes. Harper showed it to Henry. He read it. Then handed the phone back. Not my problem. It absolutely is your problem. No. Henry. No. A week later, things finally settled down. No new rumors. No leaked photos. No campus tournaments. Peace. Beautiful peace. Which should have been the first warning sign. Because peace never lasted around Harper. She was walking into the student center when someone suddenly called her name. Harper. She turned. A familiar woman was hurrying toward her. Elegant. Sharp-eyed. Perfect posture. Definitely not a student. Harper frowned. Can I help you? The woman stopped in front of her. Then smiled. A very knowing smile. You must be Harper. Yes? The woman looked delighted. Oh, thank goodness. Harper's confusion grew. Who are you? The woman laughed. Then said the one sentence Harper was completely unprepared for. I'm Henry's mother. Harper's soul left her body. Immediately. Completely. Without warning. Because she had absolutely, positively, definitely not been prepared to meet her boyfriend's mother in the middle of campus. Harper froze. Henry's mother smiled. You're even prettier than your photo. My what? The one Henry keeps. Harper nearly died. He what? Oh dear. Mrs. Brooks covered her mouth. Was I not supposed to say that? No. Harper wanted the ground to swallow her whole. That night she stormed into Henry's apartment. You have a photo of me? Henry looked up from his laptop. Yes. Why? I like looking at you. Harper's brain crashed. You can't just say things like that. I just did. She threw a pillow at him. He caught it. A month later, midterms arrived. Both Harper and Henry became incredibly busy. They saw each other less. Texted less. But somehow grew closer. One night Harper fell asleep while studying. When she woke up, she found a blanket draped over her shoulders. A coffee on the desk. And a text from Henry. Don't stay up too late. She smiled for an hour. Then disaster struck. Harper got sick. Really sick. Fever. Cough. No energy. She spent 2 days sleeping. On day 3 there was a knock at her dorm door. She opened it. Henry. Holding enough medicine and soup to survive the apocalypse. You should be resting. I missed you. Henry froze. Then quietly walked inside. Her roommates watched from across the room. One of them whispered. Oh my God. The other whispered back. That's husband behavior. A few weeks later, basketball season ended. The physics competition season ended. Life calmed down. For once. Then one evening Henry and Harper were walking across campus when Harper suddenly stopped. What? She pointed. A huge banner hung outside the student center. Annual winter formal. Henry looked. Then looked at her. then looked back at the banner. Harper gasped. Henry Brooks. What? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? No. You don't even know what I'm thinking. I know enough. She grabbed his arm. We're going. Henry sighed. The sigh of a man who already knew he'd lost. And somewhere nearby, Reginald felt a sudden sense of dread for absolutely no reason. The winter formal became the biggest event on campus. Mostly because everyone wanted to see Henry Brooks and Harper Sullivan show up together. By the time they arrived, students were openly staring. Harper wore a simple blue dress. Henry wore a black suit. The moment they walked in, someone whispered. There they are. Another person whispered. Oh my God. Henry immediately regretted coming. Harper thought it was hilarious. Halfway through the evening, the music slowed. Couples drifted onto the dance floor. Harper looked up at Henry. Dance with me. I don't dance. Yes, you do. No. Henry. No. Henry. Fine. Victory. Harper dragged him onto the dance floor. To everyone's shock, Henry was actually a decent dancer. To Henry's shock, Harper spent most of the dance laughing at him. Near the end of the night, they slipped outside to escape the crowd. The campus was quiet. Snow lightly dusted the ground. For a while they simply stood together. No gossip. No basketball. No physics competitions. Just them. Harper smiled. Remember when I thought you were terrifying? You were correct. She laughed. No. You're actually a giant softie. I strongly disagree. You bought me flowers. One time. You memorized my favorite flower. Silence. You carried my backpack. It was heavy. You sent me $5,000. You were sad. Harper burst out laughing. Henry looked away. The tips of his ears were red. A few moments later, her phone buzzed. A message from Reginald. Did the formal end yet? Harper smiled. Yes. Are you alive? Yes. Did Henry do anything stupid? She glanced at her boyfriend. Henry raised an eyebrow. Harper typed back. Not today. A second later another text arrived. Good. Tell him I said hi. Harper's eyes widened. Reginald said hi. Henry looked genuinely shocked. That's concerning. Years later, when Harper thought back on college, she wouldn't remember the exams. Or the gossip page. Or even the basketball championship. She'd remember the message she sent while sitting in those bleachers. Babe, I'm at a game right now. And she'd remember the reply. No way. Me too, beautiful. Because neither of them had realized it at the time. They'd been sitting in the same gym. Watching the same game. Cheering for opposite teams. Only a few 100 feet apart. Already falling in love without knowing it. And somehow, despite all the secrets, misunderstandings, and chaos, they found each other anyway. The end. Red Hot.